Next, we have discussion regards the expansion of Auburn City Courts by Taylor, Riley, Wilson Architecture and Preservation. Christina Sullivan, and the chief want to speak in regard to this?
I think Christina's going to tell us how this is going to roll out. Is that accurate, Christine?
Sounds good.
Not sure what your game plan is exactly tonight,
Yeah.
so.
We got you covered.
Okay.
All right, good to go. So good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for allowing for this presentation tonight. If you recall, back in July, we hired Thaler Riley Wilson out of Albany, and they have been working with us since and have come a really long way with the existing building condition analysis and design. And so they're here this evening. So we have Dan Wilson and Andy Petruzzelli with the firm, and they're going to be presenting where we're at with the project design and next steps.
Thank you, Christina. I'm Dan Wilson. I'm a partner at Thaler Riley Wilson Architecture Preservation. First off, let me say thank you for inviting us to come and present this to you. Thanks, Mayor and the council members. So let's get to it. So a little bit about the team that we assembled, if you don't know anything about us and our sub-consultants. We specialize in the renovation and restoration of existing and historic buildings, with also a focus on court design. We've worked on numerous different court facilities, and since we work a lot with older and existing buildings, we have a continuing and ongoing relationship with the New York State Office of Parks and Recreation, or SHPO, State Historic Preservation Office, and New York State Office of Court Administration. And that reason why that's important for this project is the old post office is a historic building, so you have to be experienced in what you need for court facilities, but you also have to be experienced on how to sensitively deal with historic buildings. And the other thing that we do specialize in, we do have a wide range of municipal clients, city, county, government clients, so we understand how the system works and what you guys need. So just to give you an update where we are on the project currently, we've completely analyzed the existing building, scanned it, measured it, drawn it up. We did a thorough programming analysis of what the city court needs are. And actually, we even did a little bit into the county needs, because this building does function both for city and county needs, so we had to make sure it works for everyone. We submitted a schematic design submission, which is roughly around 30% of the documents completion. And for that, that got us to the point where we can get a decent construction budget estimate. And then we also are in the process of finishing up the 60% submission to it. And the future phases are construction documents. We're currently in the process of developing those. Then we're going to go on into bidding and then construction. So I just want to talk a little bit about the scope of work. Originally, the scope of work was essentially to the offices, the WIC offices that were vacated out of one portion of the first floor of the building, taking those over, that space over to provide an additional courtroom with the spaces that are needed with the courtroom, like conference rooms, judges' chambers, etc. Provide a public waiting area for both of the two courtrooms, relocate the security office, and provide one new toilet room. But one of the things you have to understand is that was a good start to get an understanding of what the city needs are, but what we need to do and what we did do is we need to come in and really understand the needs of the building. And through our programming analysis phase, we did learn there was a couple of things that we had to do beyond that. And on the revised scope, we're still adding this needed additional courtroom, but a couple other things happened. We needed to figure out how secure holding of prisoners was happening, because currently what happens is well, first off, they don't have a separate men's and women's real secure area for secure holding. They don't have a private toilet facility for them, and they didn't have a good circulation path. So you had to bring prisoners through the public spaces. So we had to fix that. Even though that wasn't part of our scope, it would be us not doing our due diligence just to give you that new courtroom where there's all these deficiencies. The other thing is we did have to add a couple other things like a jury deliberation room, and we had to, when we relocated the drug treatment court offices out of that area, we had to find a place to put them. And so the project kind of expanded from just one side of the hallway to both sides of the hallway. And that included us having to reconfigure the court clerk's area a bit. So this is the existing floor plan, which if you're not familiar with, that's what it looks like. And then I'm just going to run through the basic design for you of the revised scope that I talked about. So in this area here, this is where we're proposing the new trial courtroom. It's a standard courtroom with a public area, a litigation area, jury box, judges' benches, and a jury deliberation room with their private toilet facility. Now this is what I was talking about of revising the secure holding area. We're keeping the secure holding area roughly in the same place, but one of the things we're proposing is to remove the old freight elevator so we can get a secure holding passageway to connect the old courtroom or the existing courtroom up, room 114 up in the top, with the new courtroom. So you have a secure way to get prisoners up into the building and to the courtrooms without having to go through public spaces. And you see we also added a toilet facility for each of the secure holding areas. And also now we also try to provide an interview booth so that attorneys, if needed to, can meet with their clients in that secure area. Then we added the public waiting area, so there's a little bit more of a wait area for people to wait while they're, instead of just in the hallway for the two courts. And then added some additional spaces that we needed for the trial courtroom, like the judges' chambers, the conference rooms, and also visiting judges' spaces, a space for the county attorney. And then also what we do now in all new court designs is we try to add a lot of attorney-client office spaces so that people can meet with the attorneys can meet with their clients somewhere private and not just talk to them in the hallway. So there's a couple of those that we added. And all these things are stuff that OCA recommends now in all new court facilities. And then as I talked about, we did have to redesign and relocate the security office, and they needed a kitchenette. And the other thing that we're required now is that security officers have to have their own locker room. So we have to have a male and female locker room so they can change. And so that's all included in this area here. And then, like I said, what was in this area, not only was it the WIC offices that are gone, but the drug treatment court. So we still had to keep them in the same facility, so we moved them up into the corner there. And that work required us to have to take some of the county clerk, the city court clerk's offices, so we kind of had to revamp and make the city court offices work a little bit better. And also what that meant was we were able to, by moving the other judge's chamber out of this area into the new judge's chamber, able to work out a better arrangement for the existing courtroom, the courtroom that's there now, where the judge's chamber has direct access to the clerk, and also we have a better jury deliberation room. And then one last phase was the current restrooms for the entire building were, first off, there weren't enough of them, fixtures for the building, and also they didn't meet current ADA compliance. So we were renovating that to be code compliant. So in general, that's the new plan. And then this is something we'd like to share. This just shows all the different city functions, color-coded by court clerk, trial courtrooms, and other ancillary spaces. Here's just a rendering of what the new courtroom could look like. Here's another rendering of what it could look like. So then, to tie it all up, one of the things that we do in the work that I do is usually we're always trying to put 10 pounds of stuff in a 5-pound bag. So we are always trying to maximize our space, especially when we're working within the confines of an existing building. So we worked really diligently with both the county and the city to come up with a program and Office of Court Administration that works for you guys, but also it fits within our confines. The other thing about it is when you're working in a historic building, we have to also be cognizant of the changes we make. So in this design, what we're always trying to do is maintain and also emphasize what we call historic fabric. Stuff like that column you see there, the old mailboxes, the coffered ceilings. So these are the things that we do. So not only providing you a new modern court facility, but one that works within the historic confines and environments. As I talked about through this presentation, of also meeting current OCA requirements and also all new building code requirements, and also minimizing disruptions because courts don't shut down. So we have a plan on, it's not shown here, on how to do that. Essentially, since you guys have an active courtroom, we keep that active and we can renovate the new courtroom, and then once the new courtroom's ready, we can then shut down the existing courtroom to make any renovations to there. Because we always have to think this through when it comes to court facilities to make sure we minimize disruptions. And in everything we always do, especially when it comes to government or municipal funding, is we always try to give, as much as we can, a 30-year life expectancy. It's usually dependent because of bonding issues, but that's what we shoot for. So what we design is something that's high quality and durable, so it lasts. But also when we do our programming, we're always trying to think of not necessarily what you need today, but we're always trying to plan for the future. So 5 years from now, you don't have to renovate the building again. And then finally, as we always should be doing, is controlling costs. So at every phase, we're doing estimates and thinking about, where the overall budget falls and how that works. So speaking of budget, I'll briefly talk about where we are now. Based on the latest drawings and the expanded scope, the current budget for the base budget is around $2.9 million, but there was some additional items that aren't included in that, and that would be the restroom renovation, because that's really kind of a county function. And then we were also proposing to add some interior storm windows for the exterior windows on the first floor to make it more energy efficient. But out of that 2.9, so far what we're working with the county on is that the county will roughly through their HVAC renovation project deal with that portion of it. In our budget, that was around $400,000 to upgrade the mechanical systems for heating and air conditioning. There is about $120,000 in abatement costs for hazardous material. There's a few pipe insulation and floor tiles, and since that's part of the building, the county might be paying for that. As I mentioned before, the $153,000 for the restroom renovation, because that restroom isn't just specifically for city courts, it services the entire building. And then roughly around $150,000 for the exterior window restoration on the first floor and those 10 interior storm windows. So key upcoming dates in our schedule. In January 23rd is when we're having the county legislature meeting to ask for permission to construct. And then from there, if that all goes well, the bidding will start around the beginning of February, hoping to have bids received by the end of February, and then bids awarded by the end of March, and then notice to proceed in spring of '24, around April. And with that schedule, most likely a substantial completion date for the construction in the fall of '24, around 9/5. So that's it in a nutshell. I think unless you have anything to add, you know, we just think we're ready for questions or anything, right? Yeah, sure.
Yes. So how close were you working with the OCA? I mean, have they been, have they seen what we've seen tonight, or I just want to.
Yep.
Get a sense.
They have, well, they actually seen what you saw tonight, but they've seen previous
Okay.
iterations, and they've been involved with our meetings, and they've been giving us guidance.
And so, I'm assuming that they're very much in line with.
Yep.
With everything,
Mhm.
because that's one of the reasons why we're doing this. So
Yep.
so very good.
Yep.
That's
No,
good to hear.
they're on board. Mhm.
Great.
I think actually, the last go around, they had very minor suggestions, and I think we picked up all those suggestions.
Great.
Mhm. Yeah.
Curious, as this project moves forward, what happens to the materials that you might be moving out that are, you know, original to the building? Do you look at deconstruction versus like demolition when you're taking apart an area? Or what do you use as your guidance? For
So, this, as you all know, and I think I mentioned before, this is
SHPO.
a National Register
Oh, yeah.
building.
Yeah.
And our design and what we strive to do is to remove very little, if no, original or historic fabric. And it's a combination of either not removing it and just leaving it in place, or sometimes, like if we have to put a drop ceiling in, you keep the coffered ceiling up, but you just put the drop ceiling in. There's some rules with OCA that they have a maximum ceiling height, which is kind of, don't get me started on that. So they think it's for acoustics. So we have to cover up some of the coffered ceilings to meet their requirements. But what we try to do to the least possible extent is remove any historic fabric. Occasionally we do if it is hazardous material. So, so that's usually what the threshold is. And I don't think there's any of these case here. The only thing that could be considered a little iffy, and we're still working on that, is the removal of the freight elevator so that we could get the prisoner corridor along that back wall. But yeah. It was a later addition, but, you know, I don't want to get too far in the weeds. It depends on what the period of significance of the building is, and we are still working with SHPO, and we have to get SHPO review
Sure.
on this.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. You mentioned that you have to present to the county legislature.
Yep.
When did you say you're doing that?
That's January 23rd.
Okay.
Right?
All right, thank you.
Please.
In your opinion, have we outgrown the building?
You haven't, but you also share it with the county. So the building, we've been able to fit everything that you guys need. I don't know from a county standpoint how they've worked with it, but for you, for the floor that you have, you're in good shape for now. We were able to fit all of the program space, and the program space, like I said, isn't what you need just today. We try to project in the future too.
Were there any thoughts of going new?
I'll say that again.
Any thoughts of going new?
Well, I mean, that wasn't our purview because it was already, this is the project that was already laid out to us. There's always that option at some point, you know?
Thank you.
Yep. But right now, what's nice about this is, just to let you know, since it's part of the county court facilities, kind of in that same, you're sharing a lot of services. And so that's what kind of works well. It's all one justice center.
I just wanted to mention a couple of other things, and kind of related to what Councilor LaCastro's talking about. This project, or this concept, has been talked about for roughly 10 years. I know, to my understanding, or to the best of my understanding, about 10 years ago is when we started to hear from the New York State Office of Court Administration about this project. There were times along the way where the Office of Court Administration became more aggressive in their pursuit of new space. Along the same lines, I've been watching a project in the city of Watertown progress. I've mentioned that on several occasions, that we're kind of up against the same thing and are working through this a similar process with a similar price tag, actually. So it's, to me, it's not unexpected knowing those things. We struggled for a period of time, but I want to make sure I recognize that we've got Shireen Androsco here, the Director of Operations for Cayuga County, and Gary Duckett. I'm sorry, Gary, I don't remember your exact title.
Superintendent of Buildings and Grounds.
The Superintendent of Buildings and Grounds for Cayuga County, and right now we've got the right people in the right places, so I just wanted to make sure you were recognized as well, and if you've got anything to add, more than welcome.
I don't have anything to add tonight, no, thank you.
But we have at times looked at off-site locations. One of the biggest drawbacks from an off-site location was pushback from the Office of Court Administration. And what was just mentioned about the proximity and keeping all of the court services in the same general geographic area, that was a big
One of
big hurdle for-
one of the biggest costs that we have in court facilities is security, and so one of the things that's nice is you kind of are in this whole secure area. So the county has their family court and other things upstairs, so it just works well. The other thing I could say about it is we've done new court facilities and they're fine, but one of the things that OCA also mandates is they're always expecting their facilities, especially the courtrooms, to be at a higher level of design, because this is supposed to be, about law and justice. And one thing I can say about this building, it has the potential, when renovated properly, to really be a beautiful building that is hard to get with new construction because of its age and the way it's constructed. It does have this monumental look to it. So I think this is a real asset, and trying to keep that as a court function makes a big, we could build something new, but you got a lot of assets in this existing building.
Christina, anything?
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Christina?
I don't know. I mean, we had this video. I was going to show it, but I didn't know about trying to make it work here. It was just to show when we did our existing conditions documentations, we did photogrammetry of the entire space. And also, if you're not familiar with the space, it would show you. This is why I didn't do it. Because I figured there'd be some kind of technical glitch.
It comes up on the web and the computer, but doesn't want to come up on
The big screen.
The big screen, I think. Maybe.
Yeah.
This is a project we've been working on the entire time I've been sitting up here.
Maybe
And
have
now
to
I
turn
have
off the
24 days left. Could we get it wrapped up by then? And I'd certainly like to attend the ribbon cutting. I don't want to put any pressure on it, so.
You're able to pull that up, Counselor? Is that coming up on your?
There's a link on the slide.
The counselors have got that on their
Yeah, we
tablet.
just touched the link on the slide, that slide.
Are we able to close?
It's really cool.
It's really cool. I'm hoping you guys can see this. Because it really shows we're only using half the floor right now. So we're very much doubling our size of space, which is really needed. If you've ever been in the city court clerk office, they are quite cramped. Oh, there we go.
There it is.
Yeah. All right, I'll let you be the driver.
So,
Go slow.
So this is how we document the building now, both hand measuring, but we've completely done this photogrammetry.
So I don't know how familiar you are with the process for when you enter the court building. So this is the very front entryway off of Genesee Street. where everyone comes through security, and then you have the option of going upstairs to family court or into the city court hallway here to the right.
There's up to family court. This is the main secure area. And then this is the main hallway that takes you down to the city court
No,
functions.
so you're talking about a good opportunity to make it look, bring out the aesthetic qualities of an older building.
Yeah.
Will it look better than this?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Because again, I'm just saying, like, while you're there, I just like, you know.
So,
I just-
I got, in my industry, we look at this building and we're like, oh, this is fantastic, believe it or not, because they didn't remove it, they just covered it all up. And so, and with actually, no hard feelings, I hope, with some pretty cheap materials, so, and stuff that's pretty expendable. So we look at this and we're like, with some simple gestures, we can really make this space look a lot better. Of exposing the coffered ceilings where we can, exposing those ornate columns, and really kind of dressing this up.
Great, that's
Yeah.
good.
Like I could, so this is kind of gives you an overall view.
Because it's depressing.
Yeah,
It's
and
depressing.
that's, you know, not only does the
It is.
not only does OCA mandate that you meet the current requirements, but they are expecting a higher level of design
Yeah.
too. So, yeah.
Oh, great.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just speaking.
Okay.
I'll say.
Great. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Bush,